Hello everybody, it's Donna. Today we're going to be making a Get Well card as shown on the picture here. I did the sample cards in 4 different colors. This one is Grapefruit Grove. I also did it in So Saffron, Rich Razzleberry, as well as the one that we're going to be doing today is in the Blackberry Bliss, which is shown right here. We will be using the Healing Hug stamp set, as well as the stitch nested label dies and the triple banner punch. That's just a list of the items I used today. I will put it back up on the screen at the end. We're going to be needing a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 inch Blackberry Bliss, a 1 inch by 11 inch piece of Blackberry Bliss, a little bit of crumb cake for the labels, some Whisper White, and some DSP. I'm using the Share What You Love Designer Series paper. This paper is actually on the clearance rack. It's not available in our catalog, but if you go onto my website, you will see that it's on clearance for, I believe it's like less than half price. You get 4 each of 6 double-sided designs. So 24 sheets, and they are absolutely gorgeous. One side, for the most part, has like a metallic finish. You don't really see it in the video too much, but it is there. They're just so pretty. So if you're interested in it, it's a good deal right now on that clearance rack. Check out www.dragonfliescreations.stampinup.net and key in the number for it, and it will come up for you. Okay, so we're going to score the first piece at 2 3/4 as well as 5 1/2. That will give us the score marks to make our Z-fold card. The longer piece, the 1 inch by 11 inch piece, we're going to score a little bit differently. We're going to score it at 4 1/2 by 7 1/4. The important part to remember is the middle piece, the middle section in between the 2 score lines, has to be 2 3/4 so it matches up with the other piece in order for it to lay perfectly flat. So if you're measuring of your cardstock or your scoring is a little bit off, it won't really matter, but it just won't lie perfectly flat. Now I'm folding this. I'm going to fold this in as if you would normally make a card and lining it up nice and even. I know some people are concerned with which way you score it and fold it. I'm not, but if it bothers you, score and fold it whichever way makes you most comfortable. Now I'm going to fold the other half back, and that makes our initial Z fold on the primary part of the card. I'm going to basically do the same thing with the other skinnier piece. The 4 1/2 inch piece is the one that's going to go on the front, so I'm going to fold that inwards like that, and then the other half is going to be folded backwards onto itself. This also gives me another Z fold for the inside. Well, it's not really for the inside, but for the top part. I'm just checking to make sure that the middle piece was 2 3/4. Okay, now the end of that, on the shorter part, I'm going to be making it into a banner, so I'm just sliding it into my triple banner punch. You don't absolutely necessarily have to have this. You could do it with a pair of scissors as well. I just really like it because I don't have to, then I know it's perfectly even. And there we go, just like that. Okay, now on the card base, we're going to attach our DSP. I did cut them out all in a row so that it matched up with each other. I don't think that's totally necessary, but this way the pattern wasn't broken up on my DSP. I'm not sure if I said the dimensions, but the dimensions of the DSP are, it's 4 inches tall. And then from that, I cut two 2.5 inch pieces and a 5 1/4 inch piece, which will make the 3 panels that I needed. Dimensions are on that supply list as well. You can stop the video or pause the video right at that point to see what I used for this card. I'm using Tombow Mono multi-purpose liquid glue that's available through Stampin' Up. It gives you a little bit of time to wiggle it around if you're not perfectly straight. I'm not using tons. I don't want it to squeeze through the ends, but I do want it sealed right around the edges. And I'm just lining them all up with each other all the way down. Okay, now we're going to attach the other banner piece. The one side of the banner, where the banner actually is, can be totally covered in glue on the back side. So it's kind of back from each other. And then the other piece is just the very beginning of the banner that's going to be covered with glue, because I don't want to glue it down to the center piece at all. And you can see there what I mean. Otherwise it's not going to fold. It's going to just be all glued together and it won't work. And there's our double Z fold. Okay, now I'm going to stamp out what I needed for the embellishment for the front. Using the Healing Hugs stamp set, I'm using the giant rose, I guess it's a rose, and the solid leaf. I'm stamping it out in Rich Razzleberry to match, or sorry, not Rich Razzleberry, Blackberry Bliss to match the card base. And the leaves I stamped out in Mossy Meadow. Now I'm going to show you at the end actually how I did this, because I did not stamp them out myself. Like, I did stamp it out, but I didn't actually cut them out by hand. You can fussy cut them out, but I found because I was going to be using these embellishments for something else as well, I wanted to do a whole ton of them all at one time in different colors. So I did, this is how I would normally do it if I was only doing one. Stamp them all out on that one sheet of paper and then fussy cut them out. But if you wait till the end of the video, you'll see how I actually did do it, as well as sponging the sides of the embellishment. Because if you cut out by fussy cutting, sometimes you get little nooks and crannies or whatever, and by sponging the sides of your die cut, you get, or your image, you get a more smoother, professional looking embellishment. So these are the ones that I used: the big flower and the 3 leaves in Mossy Meadow. I am going to embellish them a little bit more once I put them on the card. Probably could have done it beforehand because I am using glitter, but I didn't know what I wanted to add to this card until after I got it all together. Okay, so now we're going to cut out the labels that I needed for each of the 3 sections. I'm using the nested labeled dies. I'm using two sizes, and I'm just trying to pick out which ones I want and which ones will fit onto my card nicely. There's many, I don't know how many sizes, but there's many different sizes in this set. This is new with the 2019-2020 annual catalog. And I believe you can bundle it with another. There was a, I believe it's maybe the Bird Bala stamp set that you can bundle it with. I'm not really sure though. You could look online. It will tell you what you can bundle it with. And bundling gives you 10% off. So yep, I realized those are going to fit quite nicely, and I'm just going to go off and cut out one of the big ones and 2 of the small ones. Normally I would say I'm going to be embossing on these or heat embossing on these, so it's probably easier to heat emboss first and then die cut it out, just so you can have it lined up properly, but I just hadn't thought that far ahead yet. So they fit nicely, and we're on the big one, we're going to put one of the sentiments from the Healing Hug stamp set, and on one of the small ones I'm going to put another one. I'm leaving one of them blank so that it can be written on. I'm going to use the embossing buddy on the two pieces so that I don't, because we are using black embossing powder, so I don't want to get it all over it. So I'm using the embossing buddy to help with static cling and etc., so that any additional embossing powder just falls off and it won't get melted onto it. Again, to get it perfectly lined up, it's a lot easier to actually stamp it first and die cut it second. I'm putting my block down so it is straight on my background there, and then I'm putting the wording on to make sure it's straight. That way I just have to worry about whether my block's straight when I'm stamping. Sometimes I do screw up, so all I would do is simply turn it over, the sheet of paper over, and stamp it a second time. My Versamark pad is well used. I've had it for years and years and years and years. As you can tell, I don't worry that it's stained right now, especially because I'm using black on top of it. So even if it picked up some of the color that's on the pad, it's not going to make any difference. I'm going to do the same thing with the inside sentiment, which reads "Sending you healing vibes," and I'm just making sure that it's straight on that block and that the block is straight. You could possibly just use Memento Tuxedo Black for this. I wanted the wording or the sentiments to stand out really well, so this to me fit the bill. Okay, now I'm just going to heat emboss that, both pieces of them. To prevent warping or to help to manage the warping, I do heat from the back sometimes. Someone once told me that that's the way embossing powder was actually designed, was to heat from the back, but in the old days I used to just use an iron, so I had to heat buff from the back, and that was really even more difficult. Okay, and there's those two pieces ready. Now I'm going to attach them to my card using the Tombow Mono. I don't want the glue right at the very edges of the two inside or on any of the labels, because it will again glue to the, not so much this one, but the middle one will glue right to the card. So I want it just glued onto where the banner is. And I just want to make sure that it's looking the way I want it to look at the end. And now the larger one is going to go on the outside. And again, I'm just putting it where the banner would be. Or putting the glue where the banner would be. I'm just going to put a couple of blocks on top of that to hold it down while it dries, just for a second or two. And then I'm going to take the leaves and the flower and decide that I wanted to embellish it a bit more. So I'm going to embellish it now with a white gel pen. Well, actually, I'm going to glue them down first, or attach them. I'm putting them on dimensionals, the rose on dimensionals. I kind of wanted it kind of off the side, just so it kind of overflowed the label a bit. And I did this first, but I put the dimensionals right in the center, so I know that there would be plenty of room to put the leaves underneath it. The leaves I'm just going to attach with glue, and then I'm going to use the gel pen on everything. On this one, I did just use the 3 sets. I know on one of my sample ones, I'd found there was just too much room, and I did use the 4th one just to use up some of the room space there. But on this one, 3 worked just fine. Okay, now I'm going to take that gel pen and I'm just going to put little squiggles around it. I kind of wanted the white to kind of really pop and in between the petals to really pop. So I just put some little squiggles and highlight space, I guess you could call them, around the flower. And then I did the same thing with the leaves, just following the veins of the leaves and on the outside. I didn't add a lot, but I did add a little bit. Now my normal standbys to take, if I can't find anything that I like to as an embellishment for it, I'll take out my basic pearls and just color them with the Stampin' Blend. So I'm using the dark Blackberry Bliss blend to color 3 of these pearls, and because it's alcohol ink it will stick to this because it is a glossy surface. And then I'm just going to move those over to my card. By doing this now, I was allowing the gel pen will stay wet for a little bit. I didn't want to smear it, so this way it will dry, because there is a final step that I used glitter on for the rose. Okay, now I'm using the fine line tip glue to just put little bits of glue kind of around the outside, kind of in between the white lines, etc., because I just wanted to add some glitter. I felt that I wanted something sparkly on it. Again, you could have done on my samples, I actually did this after or before I glued it on, because it was simpler to do it that way than to do it afterwards. And there, that does add a lot of sparkle to the card. Once it dries, it'll stay there quite nicely. Okay, so these are the cards that I made. That's the one in Blackberry Bliss that we just did. My original card was in Rich Razzleberry. And then I did it in So Saffron. I just changed the colors of the label parts to match what I was doing. And then I did it in Grapefruit Grove, all using the same DSP out of that package. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I actually did the rose, cut out and stamped the roses. I stamped a whole bunch of them. I actually did more than what's shown on the picture here in several different colors. And then I put it on my Scan and Cut mat and sent it through my Scan and cut out a bunch of the flowers and the leaves all at once. This is what I ended up with. Actually, I had more than that. But these were the ones. I originally cut the roses out in 2 different ways. I cut them out with the border, a white border around them, and then I also cut them out without the borders because I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use, and because I'm using them for other projects, I wanted to have these on hand and available. The ones that I cut right against the edge, I am using a sponge dauber in the coordinating ink to go around the outside edge of them to finish it off. It's subtle, but it actually does make a difference, because you can kind of see the white edge, and I just didn't want to see that white core of the paper. I did that to all the flowers as well as the leaves. I did not do that to the ones where I left an outline. I decided on my cards I was going to use the one without the outline because I just didn't want the white showing. I'm not sure if it looked really all that different, but I did like the one without the outline a little bit better for my purposes. So there's a sample. The ones on the right I did not sponge, the ones on the left I did, and you can see it's very subtle. And that's what I ended up with. Well, more than that. And this is the list again of the supplies I used. Just a quick little reminder that my Sweet and Simple class resumes in October. Please join my Facebook group for additional information. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed this video, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.